So in this fortune teller project, it's an intermediate project, and we're going to make use of the broadcast blocks. We'll use a variable, and then we're also going to use the ask block to ask the user a question. So when I open up Scratch, it automatically gives us our Scratch Cat sprite, and we're actually going to use that Scratch Cat sprite in this project, but we need to create 2 more sprites. So to do that, I'm going to come down here, click on my Paint a New Sprite button. I'm going to zoom all the way out, and I'm going to use the ellipse tool to draw a big black circle. I'm going to make sure black is selected, and I'll hold down the Shift key as I do this so that I draw a perfect circle. And we want to put a little window in our circle so it looks like an 8-ball. So I'm going to select the white here, and holding down the Shift key again, be a little off center. And there we go. So here's our ball. And now we want to make another sprite that is the number 8. So I'm going to go back and paint a new sprite. This time I'm going to use the text tool. I'm going to use a pretty big font here, so let's try 96. Type our 8 and click OK. And that looks pretty good. Alright, and then finally we want to edit our cat sprite because I just want the cat's head. So I'm going to click on our cat sprite here. I'm going to go up to costumes, and I'm going to edit one of the costumes that already exists. I'll zoom in a little bit so I can see a little bit better, and I'm just going to use the eraser tool here and get rid of the cat's body. Ooh, lost it. There it is. There we go. Alright, so now I want to arrange my sprites here. I can't see the cat. He's hiding behind the 8-ball, so I'm going to move the 8-ball over and move the cat out, move the 8 out. And it's whatever you clicked on last here in Scratch will be on top. So we'll put the cat right here, put the 8 on top of him, because they won't be appearing at the same time. And then finally, just to add a little bit more to my project here, I'm going to go to my stage, and I'm going to edit the background. I just want to add a little bit of color. Let's see. I like blue a lot, so I'm going to pick one of these sort of blue colors, and we'll paint. And I'm going to use the gradient tool here. I make it a little bit fancier. Click OK. So I have a nice gradiented background. So now that we have all of our sprites and our backgrounds even decorated, it's time to start writing our scripts. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to switch back to our cat sprite, and we're going to make a variable. And I'll click on the variables tab here. We're going to use the variable so that Scratch has a random number that it's drawing from, so that we get random responses to our questions. So I'm going to make a variable. We'll call it random number, and you can see when I click OK here, a number of blocks are going to appear that help us change that random number value. I'm going to uncheck this box because I don't need my random number appearing on the stage. And now we're going to go through and start programming our sprites. And I like to, before I program my sprites, I give them each a unique name besides sprite 1, 2, and 3. That just helps me keep track in the code of which sprite is which. So we'll call it cat sprite, and then again we're just coming up here to the top where it says sprite 3, and I'm just going to type in 8. So now we have each of our sprites down here is named cat, ball, and 8. And we'll come back to the cat and go to the cat's scripts. So we're going to start asking the question when the cat is clicked, and you can see it says cat right here because that's the name of the sprite. When the cat is clicked, we want to pick a random number for our variable. So we're going to set our random number variable to, in this case it says 0. I'm going to come up here to operators and grab the pick random number block. You can see this is rounded. That means it's a numerical value that I can drop in wherever there's a numerical value that it's needed. And I'm going to say pick a random number from 1 to 5. So we'll have 5 different responses that our 8-ball will answer. And I'm going to actually go up here. I want to make a smaller stage, which will give us more room to work on our scripts. So now that it's picked a random number, the first thing I'm going to want it to do when it's answering is I want the 8 to appear while it's thinking. So we're going to have to, let's see, we'll go up to looks.
And we'll use a hide block to make the cat disappear.
And then I'm going to want the 8 to appear. And the way that we get different scripts to talk to one another in Scratch is by using the broadcast block, which you'll find in Control. We're going to broadcast a message, and the message will broadcast. We're going to have to broadcast a new message here. So I want the 8 to hide. So I'll say hide 8. Click OK. And then after it thinks for a little bit, after our cat thinks, we're going to broadcast another message. Oh, this is actually show 8. Excuse me, because I want the cat to hide and I want the 8 to show. So we're going to say show 8. Click OK. But then down here for broadcast, now we'll want it to hide the 8 after it thinks for a little bit and bring that cat back. So we're going to show the cat. And so if we ran this program now, the 8 wouldn't show and hide yet because we haven't programmed that yet. So we'll do that in a bit. But first, as it's thinking, I actually wanted to play a little sound effect. So we're going to come up to sounds here. I don't really want to use the meow that comes built in, so I'm going to delete that, and we'll import another sound from the list of sounds here that Scratch comes with. Go to Effects, and I like the bubbles, so we're going to pull the bubbles out. And we can go back to the scripts and the sound, and we're going to play that bubble sound until it's done.
And I want to give the cat a little bit longer thinking time, so I'm going to pull out a wait block and add a little extra time here.
Alright, so now that this is, now that we have this script pretty well started for the cat, we're going to switch over to our 8 and tell the 8 when we want it to appear and disappear. So right at the beginning when our project starts, when the green flag is clicked, I want our 8 to hide because I don't want it showing all the time. When do I want it to show? I want it to show when it receives that show message from the cat. So if I go to the control, you can see I also have a cap here that says when I receive, there's a drop down, show 8. I'm going to want it to show. And then once the cat is done thinking, it broadcasted that message, hide 8. So we're going to want to hide the 8. So once we have these 3 scripts for our 8, we'll switch back to the cat. So now we know the 8 is going to be working the way that we want it to work. Now we need to program in the different responses the cat's going to have to your questions. So to do that, we're going to come up to Control, and we're going to use that when I receive hide 8 message, which is at the end here. And that's when the cat's going to talk. So when I receive hide 8, we're going to have to use the if-then block so that each of the different random numbers it picks gives us a different response. So when I receive hide 8, if, we have a little hexagonal box here, so that's going to be a yes or no. We'll pull that out. If, see, we'll snap in an equals right in there, go up to variables, and our random number has the round edges, so I can drop it in where a number is needed. If our random number equals 1, we'll go up to looks. We want it to say for sure, exclamation mark. And so we need to make 5 of these blocks so that if it equals 1, it'll say one thing. If it's 2, it'll say something else, and so for each number. And so to do that, I'm going to right-click or control-click on a map and duplicate these blocks. And we need 5 of them. The other thing that we can do is we can use the stamp tool up top. We can stamp it and make another copy. So if it equals 1, it's going to say for sure. If it equals 2, we're going to say try again later. If it equals 3. We'll say the outlook is hazy. If it equals 4, let's say, are you crazy? Add some punctuation there. If it's 5, I want more yeses than no's, so I'm just going to put a plain old yes exclamation here. So now we have our responses programmed in. The last thing we're going to have to do is have the cat ask us a question. So we can find that up in the sensing block. Sensing blocks, we have a block that says ask, fill in the blank, and wait. And so we're going to want it to say ask a yes or no question. And we'll drop this right in there below, right at the beginning of our script here. And now we should be good to go. So now that we're all set to go, we'll test it out here. We're going to switch back to the larger stage. Click the green flag to reset everything. And then we're going to click on our cat to get going. Ask a yes or no question. Will it rain today? It's thinking. The outlook is hazy. That's a good answer. It does look hazy outside. So there you have it. You can try adding different responses or more responses, adding new sounds, or find out more information at mediamashup.ning.com. Thanks.